Well, ladies and gentlemen, you came back for seconds. Welcome back to Late Night Confessions with me, Britton Rae, your host on the Sensationalist podcast. And I have to start out with one confession that is going to be a little bit interesting for people who are only listening. I'll leave a little bit to the imagination. But for those of you who are watching, you probably have already noticed how absolutely incredible my hair looks. And that is my first confession, is that I unfortunately do believe that it is very well worth your money to spend $650 on a hair tool. I got the Dyson ID and I didn't pay anything for it. It was a gift from my daddy. And I will just say right now that I would go into debt for it. I would. That is my confession. I would go into debt for a lot of things, especially if it made me have good hair, because I'm vain and that's all I care about is having really good hair, being hot, being interesting. And that is one of the things that I do feel like makes me very interesting, is that I'm always going to have the biggest hair in the room. And the Dyson ID definitely does that. And this is not sponsored. I wish it was. I wish it was. But I'm just being honest and being real. That shit's incredible. So yeah, this is day 2. If you're looking at me, if you're not, just imagine the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen. And that's me. But yeah, I literally didn't even do anything to my hair this morning except for brush it. And for a while I didn't. I spent the first half of the day walking around with unbrushed hair because it looked so good. But I brushed it for you because I love you. So that was just a little warm up. If you're new here, welcome. What are you doing? I am Britton Rae, and I have had a little bit of an interesting past year where there's just been a lot of anxiety. There's been a lot of eepy, creepy little things that have been causing my brain to spiral in the wee hours of the night, where I like to lay in bed and tell myself, it's time to go to bed. It's time to close your eyes. And I say, okay. And then I do. And then all of a sudden it's like every thought that you would never want to have, I have suddenly all at once too, one after another, of just thinking of all the things that I could have done differently during the day. And that spirals to during the week, during the month, during the year, during the past 5 years. And then all of a sudden I'm regretting every decision that I've made and not made in my entire life. And I'm thinking about all the things that could possibly go wrong. And it was really honestly becoming a little bit of a problem. It was starting to make me feel as though I was just living in Groundhog Day, where I was not achieving anything I wanted to, and I didn't even recognize myself anymore in the mirror. And so I put this podcast on hold, even though it was one of my biggest dreams. And I put a lot of things on hold because I felt like I needed to fix me before I could do anything that would be worth watching, right? Well, then I had a bit of an epiphany the other day meaning a couple months ago, and I said, you know what? What if instead of waiting until all this goes away, I just started talking about it? Because surely there are people out there who resonate with it. And so I started this segment, this lovely, beautiful thing called Late Night Confessions, where it is a no judgment zone for me to pour my heart out on all of the things that I'm ashamed to admit about myself, or the things that have been keeping me up at night, the things that I question, the things I have anxiety about. And no one can say anything because it's literally just me sitting here by myself. And then I put it out into the entire world, but with hopes that somebody will resonate with it and feel less alone, because I've been feeling quite isolated in my brain that is literally like a horror house. Anyway, so yeah, that's Late Night Confessions. And last week I talked about how I'm addicted to my phone and it's ruining my life. And a lot of you resonated with that. And so I opened the floor at the end of last week's episode and said, if you have a confession, if you have something that you are ashamed to admit, something that is ailing you, something that is eating away at your pretty little brain, send it my way. And I will share it anonymously and give you my best advice as someone who is also struggling. And not in the words of Taylor Swift, I quoted this last week, but never take advice from someone who's falling apart. That doesn't apply here. You should definitely take my advice, because So last week I teased the theme for this week's episode, which is when your ego crashes and burns. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. But as promised, we are also going to be reading some of your juicy, real, raw confessions that you so kindly sent in to me, and I'm going to be responding to those with my advice and just a warm hug, even for the people who sent in things to me that honestly I don't have the best advice for. I at least will tell you that I really resonate with it, and I will give you at least a little bit of my insight and how I've been dealing with it so well. So stay tuned for that at the end. But without further ado, let's get into this week's confession: ego crash and burn. So when I talk about the idea of an ego crash and burn, I feel like it's actually not that unique of an experience to feel like, when you get this big idea, you have all these, these ideas of how it's going to happen. Like you get this big dream and you kind of fantasize about how it's all going to unfold, and that it's, of course, in your fairy tale mind, you're daydreaming about it. You're thinking of all the things that could go right. You're not really thinking so much about all of the things that could go wrong. You have this dream and you believe in yourself. And that kind of high of having a new idea or a new dream only takes you so far, because it's like the idea is so good, or you're just so passionate about it that you just really believe in yourself. And then there is, I feel, for most people, there is a moment where you start to realize it's going to be a lot harder than you thought, or it's going to take a lot longer than you thought. And it is like a crash and burn, because you just suddenly are like, I no longer have the newness of this dream or of this idea, this spark to ride off of. I now have to create my own ability to believe in myself. And that's where, in my brain, at least, all of the doubt starts to come in, where you're having to provide the logic. It's no longer riding on a high of a dream. It's like you're having to provide the logic for yourself of like why this dream is going to work out, why you believe in yourself. Like you're searching for data to prove that you are capable of achieving this. And when your brain is scouring for data, it's like it's inevitable that you're also going to come across reasons or create reasons to doubt yourself. And then I just feel like a lot of people experience that like crash and burn feeling, where it's like all of a sudden your mind is battling itself with like the side of you that says this is going to happen, and the side of you that says you're a fool, it's never going to happen, you need to give up now because you're embarrassing yourself. And you just bounce back and forth, and like you're being told that time is running out, and then you're telling yourself like, calm down, you've got all the time in the world. Time is not a real thing. Time is an illusion. Like, don't fall into that. Keep going, keep chasing your dream. And then over here you're like, you need to find something stable. Because at the end of the day, you got to put food on the table and you got to pay rent or mortgages or whatever. For you rich folks, you call it a mortgage. But anyway, it's just like your brain goes back and forth telling you different things. And on any given day, if you're anything like me, you wake up and you're like, who am I to worry? What have I got to worry about? The world is my oyster. I'm a sweetie and a lover, which means anything I want, I can have. I have good thoughts flowing through me. Money is flowing to me. I will not want for anything because I'm a positive little girl. And then literally for no reason, the very next day you open your eyes and you're like, hey, good morning, loser. You need to go and literally figure out your entire life because you've been wasting time and you're a fool to think any of this could have ever happened. Welcome to the real world. Go get a big girl job and stop complaining and give up all of this because it's never going to happen. You're a loser. You're a loser. You've been living in delusion. You're like, oh, right. And so then we just like do that little tango dance of like, who am I going to wake up to tomorrow morning? Is it going to be like the happy go lucky side of me, or is it going to be the doom and gloom? And trying to find a baseline between those two versions is like the struggle of a lifetime. And so I want to talk a little bit about the moment that all really started for me. And I'm going to get a little vulnerable, a little juicy. I'll throw a little spice of sarcasm in there because that's my favorite way to talk about vulnerable topics. And yeah, let's see if we can get down with it together. And you tell me what you think and let me know if you resonate with any of this, because I know I would have loved to find somebody talking about this on the internet instead of talking about like flying in their private jet and how it was all worth it. Isn't that so funny? It's literally like anytime you see like a story online of like people struggling, it always has that ending with like, but it was all worth it because look at my penthouse, look at my private jet, look at all the things I'm able to do. Now I'm bringing in like $7 million a year and life is so good. And it's like, what about the people who are like still living on a hope and a prayer? Why don't we hear from them more often? I don't know. I don't know. So that's me. I'm living on a hope and a prayer. And today, lucky for you all, I'm in a really good mood. But there was a time not too long ago where I really wasn't, where the doubt started to really creep in. And that's what we're going to circle back to as we talk about this confession of my ego crashing and burning. Okay. So as many of you know, I have wanted to be an author for a very long time, and that's all I've ever dreamed of as a little kid. I just love to make believe. And I do resonate with the idea that if you're struggling for what you want to be, like what career you want to have, who you want to be in this big world where there's so many opportunities, so many possibilities, then it's like, I think that thinking back to your childhood and thinking about what you loved as a kid is a good way to start. And it might not be consistent with everybody, but me as a kid, I was actually like really hard to punish when my parents would take like my toys away if I did something bad, and I was kind of a bad kid. I was always like yapping my mouth too much. Believe it or not, it's like, look at me now. That's all I do is yap on the internet and record videos of me talking to myself in a microphone. So for all the teachers out there who told me that I need to talk less, you were wrong. I needed to talk more. Anywho, when my parents would like take away like my Barbies or like tell me I couldn't play with things or whatever as a punishment because I was being bad or whatever, it was hard for them to do so because I was always able to find a way to entertain myself. Most commonly, most famously, I liked to use my fingers as little puppets that would talk to each other. And so literally, if you think about it just logically, if you include the thumb, that's 10 dolls that you have to play with right in front of you. Like, how could you possibly be bored? So ever since I was little, I was creating like wild storylines. I was addicted to it. I loved it. I had the most fun playing Barbies, and I played like violent Barbies, of course. If you've read any of my chapters on my Secret Quill Society book club, where I put out unreleased chapters of my book, My Dear Regret, then you probably know that. Or if you followed me talk about the concept of my Taylor Swift inspired murder mystery, keyword is murder. That's what I liked to do as a kid with dolls. Like, it could never just be like a family playing house. It could never just be like, you know, day to day, like mom and dad, you know, live. I don't even know how to come up with that storyline because I've never even thought about it. It's so boring to me. It was always like, okay, Barbie wakes up. There's a murderer loose on the street. She's hiding under the bed. He breaks in and enters, and he is able to like get up to the, like, and of course it's a G.I. Joe. I didn't have a Ken doll. I had a G.I. Joe. And he is like on his way to murder her. She's hiding under the bed. All of a sudden, there's a tornado. Okay, there's a tornado. So she's got to get to the basement before the Ken doll can like find her, or the G.I. Joe can find her. So she's having to like creep down to the basement because there's a tornado. The house is destroyed. The house is blowing in the air. All of the furniture thrown everywhere. She's still hiding out, but now all of a sudden her friend is dead, literally dead in the middle of the road. And now she sees her like she got killed by the tornado. And so she's running for her life while she's being chased by this G.I. Joe that is going to kill her. And not only is there a tornado now there's an earthquake, more damage, more destruction, and now there's not only one killer on the loose, there's two. Now she's turned crazy and she's turning on him. Turns out, plot twist, he was never the killer, she was. Boom, fabulous day of playing. That was how my mind worked. It was always like car crash, somebody dies, murder, somebody dies, natural disaster, multiple people die. Like, I don't know what that means about me as a kid, but all I know is that I had fun. And so that's how my brain has always worked. I've loved to create storylines. Don't know why they were always violent, but like, cheers. So I have been in love with storytelling for a very long time. And the older I got and started, you know, to go to college and try to pick out what my major was going to be, I wrestled with a couple different things because, you know, the older you get, the more you're thinking of like, well, how practical is my dream? And should I do something that's more of the safe route, obviously, because you start thinking about money and income and the people that have made it. And especially when you're looking at the dreams that have, you know, the categories of like, all of these people want it, and this tiny percentage of people are able to actually achieve it and actually pay their bills with it and actually live the life of the royalty and rich and famous and everything. And I was like, that's going to be me. So I thought that it would, and I thought that I would become a writer. I wanted to be a writer for television. I wanted to write movies. I wanted to write books, all of these different things. I wanted to create, tell stories, make up fictional stories, and just that was what I wanted. And then after college, I realized it's kind of hard. I don't know how to get started. Should I have gone the safe route? And long story short, I wiggled around for a while, tried different things, and then finally 2 years ago, at the end of 2024, wow, it's been a minute, I decided I'm not messing around anymore. I am going to get going with this. Like, I'm going to give it my all. And I have, okay? And that all came to me when the idea struck to write a Taylor Swift inspired murder mystery where I take all of the themes in Taylor Swift's albums and personify them into characters set in a murder mystery where they all have been wronged by the same man, all have had their lives destroyed by the same man, and they cross paths with each other and they decide that together they can take him down. That was the premise of the book that I started to write. I started to talk about it on social media, and I was just like, this is gonna be a New York Times bestseller. Like, this is going to be huge. I'm literally going to have like a massive book deal. It's not going to take me any time. It's going to be super easy. Like, let me just do it. Let me just write it. And it's going to happen overnight. Like, I'm going to be an overnight success. And I was so convinced of that. I'm not even kidding you guys. Like, I was like walking on air. I was literally like, this is going to be the best. Like, I don't even have to try. It's going to be the best. And let's just say I wrote this book. I'm so proud of it. I'm so excited about it. And I send it to my agent and she's excited about it. She starts sending it around and then it's just silent for a long time. And I heard all the things people said, you know, the book industry's slow. It takes a long time. And I was like, that's okay. That's cool. It's fine. It's going to be fine. It's not going to take that long for me though, of course, because I'm different. I'm special. I'm unique. I'm beautiful. Right. Well, then I start like relying on that a little bit more where I'm like, it's okay. People say, you know, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. It's okay. It's going to be fine. And then I start to have the doubt creeping in of like, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long, you guys? It's me. It's literally me. What are you talking about? And then it gets to where I'm starting to have doubt. And I'm also starting to pay attention to like these ideas that I'm getting of like ways that I could have made it better and things that I wish I would have done. And then I'm like, stop thinking like that. It's just doubt. It's just criticism. Like, stop thinking like that. Like, you wrote a good book. And then I start thinking more like I keep getting inspired by other ideas and other things where I'm like, that would have been more interesting. That would have been more interesting. Long story short, the moment the ego crashes and burns, okay, I decide to swallow my pride. And I email my agent and I ask her if we can like chat, if we can figure out like what's going on, what's taking so long, like if I should move forward with self-publishing, what she thinks. And we have a phone call. On that phone call, she gives me great feedback and I'm healed enough. I've healed enough. I've had enough time to really realize that like, no, I'm not taking it personally. Like, it's actually fantastic advice. And the feedback essentially was very kind about my writing, but it said that this, like, essentially in a nutshell, was not very much of it wasn't going to be like commercially successful. There were some things about it. Number one, there's 11 characters and I wrote from like each character had like a section where it was like their backstories, their point of view. Like it was a large amount of characters. And for a debut book, that's a lot. That's a lot to, you know, a lot to bite off and chew. And also it's a lot for the reader to be able to follow, and that they saw the potential of it being like a little bit of a confusing storyline with so many different perspectives, wanting to know if it could be like consolidated into a few characters. And I will say, like, I was really, really into, when I was writing it, I was like, I want to prove myself as a writer. And I focused on that more than I focused on the actual story itself. And I got really into like, every chapter needs to be like poetic. Like I was thinking Tortured Post Department, like everything needs to be whimsical. It needs to be like mysterious. It needs to be so well written. Like my vocabulary needs to be on point. I need to really prove myself as an author. If I want to be taken seriously, I need to prove that I'm an exceptional writer, and the storyline doesn't matter as much. I knew I had a good plot. I was like, I have a good plot, but I need to focus on this. And I feel like now, as I'm healed, like I said, and I can really be honest with myself, that was what was giving me so much anxiety of thinking of like things that I could have done better, because I was paying attention to, as like I was waiting to hear feedback, I was paying attention to like what I was gravitating towards. And I was like, there are so many books that I just love, so many storylines that I love that are like, they're exciting, they're upbeat, and they're also real. Like you read them and they're real. And that's what kind of like, I had this epiphany when, after I got off the phone and I was like taking that information in and thinking about it, I had this epiphany where I was like, you know who my like ultimate icon is, who I really look up to, is Taylor Swift. And I think Taylor Swift is literally the Shakespeare of our generation. Argue with the wall on that. And one of the things that she does so brilliantly is like, she writes modern, and she writes in a way that's like, her lyrics, I know people joke and say like you need to pull out a dictionary when Taylor Swift drops an album, and it's like, sure, she might have one big word here and there, but it's like, for the most part, you can listen to it and you can understand it. It's just well written because it taps into the emotions and it puts you there. It paints the picture where it's like, her songs to me are not just songs. They're not just two-dimensional songs. They're three-dimensional, taking you into a movie where it's like a movie in your mind playing, and you feel like you're there, and you feel like you're experiencing what she is experiencing. You feel like you're feeling what she was feeling. You feel like you're seeing what she was seeing. You feel like you are literally in the story because she brought you in. She invited you in with her music. That's how I feel about Taylor Swift. And the thing that she does there so brilliantly is that she writes in a way that anybody can listen and understand. And so the same thing with Shakespeare. Everyone who's like, Taylor Swift will never be Shakespeare, he writes so much better than she does, is like, okay, if you think it's like prolific just because he says like where art thou, Romeo? And it's like, we don't talk like that anymore. It's like, yeah, well, you used to. Like, Shakespeare wrote in modern English when he wrote it. It wasn't like people were like, oh my God, you know, like, that's the thing, is like saying Taylor Swift is a modern day Shakespeare, and then people are like quoting modern day references that she makes, and it's like, yeah, right, that's so Shakespeare. It's like, modern day, keyword, listen, dummy. Anyway, so I took all of that into account, and honestly, it's for the best, because I'm in love with the edits that I've made. I'm in love with this book. I feel so much more confident about it. But in the process of getting to this healed point, I had moments where I like started to really look at myself and say, like, why do I think I can do this? Like, what if my book never gets published? What if I'm literally just a big fat phony fraud who is sitting around thinking she's going to be somebody? And is it like all in my head? Have I had like a sheltered childhood where I had parents that told me I was special? And like, I grew up and I'm like, nobody else thinks that. I'm like, is there something, what if this is all in my head? Like, why have I felt like this was all going to be so easy? And I felt like I was just like destined for this. Like, and then it's like such, this is going to sound so dramatic, but let me be dramatic, baby. Get cozy and listen to me. Okay. What if, picture this, your entire life, you've been so convinced that like what you're destined for is a big life. Like, I'm going to be honest. I'm like, I'm not going to, a 9-to-5 is not for me. I'm not meant to be behind a desk. And there's no offense to anybody who is. Like, we all have different dreams. We all have different things that we want. But I'm like, I'm a star. Okay? I am a star. I am meant to create things. Like, I'm meant to have a name that you Google and like my picture comes up. And I've just always felt like that. And I'm like, you can tell me I'm entitled. You can tell me I'm full of myself. I really don't care. That's how I've always felt. Without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, I've always just been like, it's going to work out for me. Like, I know it's going to work out for me because I've never dreamed of anything else. So whatever. Starting to feel like, wait, what if it doesn't? What if I do just have an ordinary life? I literally could have been sick. Like, and I know that that's going to make me sound unlikable. I don't care. It's the truth. I literally was like, no. But I'm like, but what if I've been living in this kind of delusion, and I've just thought that I would be somebody, and what if I'm not? Like, what is the point in living? What is the point in living if you, like, that's how I felt. I literally was like, that's all I've ever wanted in my entire life. And I think, let me just take a second and pause before any of you, like, flip me off and say I'm a delusional little self-absorbed weirdo. All of those things may very well be true, and that is totally fine. But let me tell you something, and you can take this to the bank and cash it, okay? If there is something in your life that imagining it's gone, imagine it doesn't happen, makes you physically ill and say, well, then literally what is the point in living? I don't think that makes you entitled. I don't think that makes you self-absorbed. I don't think that makes you any of those things. I think that means that, well, honey, you found your destiny, because that's what you're meant to do. And that's why you feel, don't ever deprive yourself of chasing your dreams because they feel too big, or they feel like it makes you entitled and a prick or whatever, because you literally feel like you can't live without it. Do not ever sacrifice those dreams and make yourself smaller because you feel like it's too big and you're making it too big. If that is literally, like, if you feel like you cannot live without it, then chase it every single day and die trying. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, I would rather starve and never achieve the things that I want, which not going to happen. I refuse. But I would rather starve and never achieve the things that I want, like be able to buy the homes that I want, live where I want to, you know, get to wear the clothes that I want to, any of those things that, yes, they're materialistic, but like they are things that I want. I would rather literally live in a hut and lose everything to my name, lose every materialistic thing, because I lost all of my money trying to chase my dreams, then live a nice, cozy, comfortable life in a job that I don't want, that I'm not passionate about, because it was the safe route. I'm not kidding. I literally refuse. Like, there is no part of me. And I, for a long time during this process, when I would think like, you need to do the safe route, and I'd pull up LinkedIn and I'd start looking and stuff. I like, cause I'm like, I have enough money to get by right now. Like, I have enough money to get by, and money flows to me. I just say that money flows to me. I'm fine. I have enough money to get by right now. I would start to panic and be like, you are 27, sweet cheeks. The clock is not on your side. This is that other side of me talking. The clock is not on your side. You better start saving money, because what if you want to buy a house in the next couple of years? That's not gonna happen. You better go get a 9-to-5 somewhere. Go look on LinkedIn. Okay, give up these dreams that are just getting you by, and go look on LinkedIn. Find something more stable. Find a 9-to-5. Okay, so I would do that. I would scroll, and I'd look, and as I would look, every time I'd pull up an application for a job that sounded like somewhat okay, I would feel a part of my soul shrink, shrivel, die, and just dissipate into thin air, into dust as I would do that. And then I'd be like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, this is not what I meant to do. This is not what I meant to do. And yes, things might not be ultra comfy, cozy luxury right now, but I'm chasing my dreams, and it isn't that so hot. Like, that's the hottest thing you could possibly do. And so I kind of got to where I was like, you know what? Get these doubts out of your mind, girl. You got to get back to who you knew you were. You got to be who you always knew you were. Because there was a point in my life, call it delusion, call it illusion, call it whatever you want. There was a point in my life where I never questioned who I was going to be. And I need to get back to that. And so over the past couple weeks, it has been a struggle. Like, I feel like it's a struggle after the ego crash and burn, when you think it's going to happen so easily, and then you realize, like, oh, I'm going to have to work for it. I'm going to have to get my nails dirty. I'm going to have to bite all of them off. I literally had a $100 manicure for when I got engaged, bit all of them off. Bit them all off, and it is what it is, because of anxiety and because of working my little tail feathers, sitting and writing my book. If I'm writing, I'm biting, okay? And that's just what it is. I realized that you're no longer going to be able to fly on the high of the newness of a dream. You are going to have to realize that it's going to be hard. You're going to have to realize that there are going to be days where you wake up and you doubt yourself. And even when you doubt yourself, you better get in the mirror. And even if you feel like you don't know who you are and you don't feel like you're that bitch, you need to look at yourself and you need to say, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. And act like it, fake it till you make it. People say that's toxic advice. I say, I don't care. It works. I fake it till I make it all the time. I live on delusion. I live in illusion. And you know what? At the end of the day, the world kind of sucks in so many ways. It's also so beautiful, but there's a lot of bad things in the world. If I get by off of fantasies in my mind about myself, I could be doing so many more harmful things to mankind. Like, I'm literally, at the end of the day, if this doesn't work out, I'm only hurting myself. So let me be delusional. Let me live in illusion, and then let me vibe. That's all I have to say about that. So like I said, I'm in a very good mood today. This might have been a different episode had I gotten on here and talked about how, like, I still really don't feel like myself, but I had a day like that literally yesterday. Yesterday I sat in front of my computer and I was like, at this part of my book that I'm trying to re-edit, and I'm just trying to make it work. And I was like, why is my brain not working? And then I took a little walk and I got some fresh air and I had a little Diet Coke, and I said, girl, you can do whatever you want. You make up whatever you want. And I literally just rewrote the chapter into something that made more sense. And it's so much better. And it's like, I think that's my biggest advice is, if you're feeling like this, taking a second, stepping away from whatever it is, whether it's writing something, creating something, or just even like dreaming, like just the art of dreaming and thinking about your future and being like, how am I going to make this work? If that's the question, how am I going to make this work? Take a second, take a break, walk away from it. Get your mind to something else, distract yourself for a minute, come back to it, and then remind yourself that you can literally do whatever you want. There aren't any rules to anything. You can scrap it and start over. Like I said last week, you get to decide when your episode 1, season 1 moment is, your pilot episode, your book, your new book, your chapter 1, page 1 moment is anytime. It could be at 12 o'clock on a Tuesday that you're like, no, we're starting over. Literally, you can decide whenever you want. You can always start over. You can scrap things. The second that you, like, it's like, for me mentally, it's like there's this literal, like, clinch, like this wrench between my temples that's like squeezing my brain, and I'm trapped. I'm like trying to get out of it. Like, I can't go to the left. I can't go to the right. How do I make this work? How do I make this work? And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, take the wrench off. And it's like, oh, I can literally do whatever I want. Like, I don't have to make it work like this. I can just do something else and I can make it work that way. Mind blown. And I know that seems so basic, but if you've been through it and you've felt that sweet, sweet revelation of like, wait a second, life is essentially a game. I'm a player of one. I can do whatever I want to do. It gets so much better, right? So that is essentially my advice for this, is like, live in illusion proudly. let yourself be delusional, never hurt anybody, and remind yourself that you are able to do whatever you want to do. You are that bitch, as long as you say you're that bitch. Period. I dropped the mic, but it would make a sound that you wouldn't like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this episode to a close, you know I didn't forget about you. Of course, so many of you were so kind to write in your very vulnerable, very real, very relatable confessions. And I'm going to take a second to read those now and discuss them. And if you would like to leave a comment, if you are on YouTube, leave a comment. Leave a comment. Talk to, like, this is a community. This is a vibe. This is a little group, our little corner of the internet where we can all talk to each other. If you have any advice you want to add, please feel free to do so. And as always, if you have a confession that you would like to send in, you may do so via Instagram DM with me, TikTok DM with me. My username is Britton Rae. Duh. Don't forget it. Don't wear it out, or do. You know I like it. Or you can email thesensationalistpodcast@gmail.com. That is thesensationalistpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, all submissions and confessions will be read anonymously. So, without further ado, let's get into them. Confession number 1 is something that we can all relate to, at least at some points, have experienced fleeting moments of it. Maybe it's something that you experience chronically. This is a no judgment zone. Confession number 1 is, I am jealous of all of my friends. Literally all of them. Now, what I said about all of us being able to relate to this, at least a fraction of it, all of us have experienced jealousy at some point. And I am, of course, not guilt-free of this. I've experienced jealousy before. And I'm going to speak from my own personal experience with this without projecting onto you, because obviously this is a very short, this was a response to an Instagram DM. So this was a very short sentence. We don't have a ton of context of like, in what ways are you jealous of your friends? And you know, but I'm taking it that it's literally all of them, that it's probably in multiple different ways. For me, I have, whenever I've experienced jealousy, especially if it's like jealousy with a friend, it's in such a different way of like, I want my friends to all be so successful. I want them to be so successful, literally so much. And I personally can't relate to being like the jealous friend. I love it when my friends have good news. I love it when they're doing so well. But what I will say is like, I think this is just very human, of whether it's a friend or even just like somebody on social media. I kind of relate to that a little bit more than my personal friends. But when there's somebody like on social media, a peer, you know, somebody who does what I do, and I see them like reach a milestone that I haven't reached yet, that I really would want to reach. And I'm like, why did they get that and I didn't? It's not so much in a way of like, I don't think that they deserve it. It's more so in a way of like, I think that peers, friends, anything, fill in the blank, other people in general can act as a mirror where when you see somebody succeeding in something that you really want, it kind of makes you look inward and question like, why don't I have that? And then for me, again, this is just me, I've noticed that anytime I've felt that, it's not so much that I'm like jealous. It's that I realize that there's something that I'm not doing. Like I realize I'm not working hard enough towards something, or I realize I haven't put as much effort into something. And so it is kind of like this, it's not a jealousy. It's like a revelation of like, oh, I don't deserve that yet. I have not worked hard enough for that. I have not put the effort in for that. And it makes you feel like, you know, called out a little bit. And it makes you get real with yourself where you're like, those are things that I want. I need to be putting in the effort in order to gain those things, to achieve those things. And so I've kind of shifted my mindset over the years. I think honestly, going to a school, I went to Belmont University, and there's so many talented people that go to Belmont University and graduate to do incredible things in the entertainment industry. So I think that I got good at this, like from the experience of that for several years, is like seeing it as inspiration. And this is not to discredit them, but being like, oh, if they can do it, I can. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just like, for anybody on the planet that's achieved something, it's like, if they've done it, then what's the logic that I couldn't do it too? If I put the same amount of effort in, if I believe in myself as much as they believed in themselves, you know? And I think that that's another thing to it, is like, you got to question, is this jealousy coming because like at the end of the day, I really feel like I don't believe in myself as much as maybe they believe in them. And maybe that's what you're jealous of. And so anywho, I feel like it's an opportunity. Jealousy invites an opportunity to look inward, because I don't think jealousy is a healthy emotion. I think it's a very human emotion, but I don't think it's a healthy emotion. And I think the same thing about like how a lot of people experience anger when really it's masking sadness. And it's like, take a second, take a step back. what is the root of this? I'm not angry. I'm sad. What am I sad about? And how can I address that? Same thing for jealousy of like, take a step back. What am I jealous of? And is it really a call inward of something that I feel I should be doing or something that I wish I had the confidence to do or the belief in myself to do? And maybe that's what I need to work on. And then you have an agenda. Then you have something that you can work towards, and that can repair that uncomfortable feeling of jealousy. I feel like that was a pretty good response. You're so welcome. Okay, moving on. The next one's kind of funny to me. It's just flat and simple, and we have no context, but it's, I lie when I'm bored. Confession, I lie when I'm bored. And the things that I want to ask are like, how intense are these lies? Are they like bits when you're out with the girls and like you're bored and so you decide to like lie about your past, you know, to people, like to strangers? You tell them like a fib about like, I'm from out of town, and you fake an accent? Or is it like you lie like about your life and like you tell people you've been through things that you haven't to get attention because you're bored? Like, what's the intensity scale here, and how many people are we hurting? Is it harmless little fibs or like bits and stuff, or is it like we're lying about some intense things? Because I would have different advice for those two things. The first one, I'd just kind of be like, whatever, you know, have fun. The second one, I'd be like, ooh, let's not do that. But let's just take it seriously and say, whatever it is, if it's harmful, lying's not good. Duh. It's confession. Don't sin. My thing is, if you're bored, find something that you enjoy, you know, find something that like, read a book. And I know that sounds so like sarcastic of read a book, but I feel like there are so many people out there that think that they don't like reading, and it's like, yes, you do. Everybody likes reading. What would you have done if you were born in a time that didn't have phones to stare at and movies to watch and like Netflix to stream? Literally get a book out and read it. You will like it. It will be good for your brain. Or like find a hobby that involves like a kind of like textile function of like, get your hands in it, like knit, cross stitch. Lots of people love that. Like draw, get a coloring book, an adult coloring book or something. Like find something that you like to do that is not directly related to money, that doesn't like put pressure on you as far as like creating content or, you know, chasing a dream. Or those are great things too, but it's like, I think it's very beneficial and very healthy for us to have hobbies that have nothing to do with like our personal income or advancing our personal income in our careers, because it is like something to detach and unplug and reset your brain, and that'll help with getting bored easily. You know, like find a hobby. I know that sounds really like whatever, but that is my advice, is find a hobby if you're bored and you like to lie. But if it's for the bit, like have fun. The next confession is a little more serious, and one that we all can relate to, especially me. I don't like my life. Day-to-day basis, I really struggle to find joy. I think that that's very vulnerable, and I want to commend you for that, because I think that is very relatable in today's world, where it's like, I think a lot of us feel like that. I think a lot of us just like experience Groundhog Day, especially if you're in any kind of era where you're struggling for money or stressed about money and you really can't do fun things, because we live in a world where fun things have a price tag for the most part. At least the things that we're, you know, accustomed to seeing, of like the low dopamine hits, like going shopping, buying things, going and getting a coffee, going out to eat, going to shows, going to concerts, you know, all of those things cost money, and it can be kind of hard, especially depending on where you live. I don't know where you live. I don't know how much access you have to like free entertainment or to nature or what you enjoy, you know, but I think that is something that's like, it's very relatable to feel like you're in Groundhog Day and you're searching for joy. And that's just something that's like, just in a nutshell, I don't think we as a society talk about enough, as like when you find yourself searching for joy instead of just like experiencing joy freely, that's really exhausting, because then it feels like it's a task to try to find happiness. And then that in and of itself makes the happiness that you do find less happy, less joyous, because it's like you had to search for it. You had to work for it. And it's like, maybe I'm just like more woo-woo in this, but I feel like joy should be something that comes freely to us. I feel like everyone is deserving of experiencing happiness and joy and safety and peace. And so when you're having to search that out and you're struggling to find it on a daily basis, I understand where that can lead to like, I don't like my life, like what's going on. And so two things that I have to say about that is, number one, be honest with yourself and take a personal inventory and ask yourself, is there a major change that needs to happen? Like maybe we need to get really honest. If you're in a relationship that is really, really taxing to you, that is draining you, that is not bringing you joy, that is bringing you stress and anxiety. There's so many women, I feel like, that go through that, and men, you know, that go through that, where it's like, this isn't right for me. This is draining. This is toxic. and it's depriving you of joy every single day. And it can be really hard to cut those off. If that's what's going on, maybe that's part of it. And maybe that's something you need to be honest with and start thinking like, how, like, I can't live like this. How do I get out of this? What does life look like going forward for me? And maybe it's not a relationship. Maybe it's a job. Maybe it's like your job is draining you. Your job is ruining your life. And yes, it's scary. Finances are scary right now. Times are tough. The job market is trash. But maybe it's time to like give yourself a goal of getting out of it, of being like this. I can't live like this. I can't live like this, even if it means that I'm going to have a little bit less financial freedom. Like at the end of the day, if you have a job that pays you pretty well and you literally are struggling to find joy every single day, it's like, at what point do you say like the money's not worth it? You know, take a pay cut to be able to experience joy every day? Yeah. Absolutely. So that's first thing is like take an inventory of your life and see if there's something that's causing it. Because if there is one thing that you can kind of isolate and say like, yeah, that's the main root of like my misery, then let's see if we can eliminate it. Number two, if it's not anything like that, then finding little bits of joy that you can sprinkle in, things that you enjoy, even if it's as simple as like taking more time to do your skincare or to do your makeup every day. Like self-care habits, they do make us feel better. I don't care what anybody says, they do. Having a little coffee and you don't have to go out and buy it, like making yourself a little special drink, adding some whimsy back into your life of like, whether it's cooking, whether it's, you know, lighting a candle when you're making dinner or before you go to bed and you read, having a cup of tea, like just little things that make your life feel a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more whimsical, and bring you a tiny bit of joy is worth it to start implementing into your day-to-day life to give you that spark of joy, because it will lead to others. And then lastly, I know this is a little bit of intense advice, but it is worth saying, is be honest with yourself. If you got to talk to somebody and you got to get some help professionally, if it's that intense, that's okay. You know, like that is so okay. Even if that's something that, you know, is inaccessible to you, talking to a friend, talking to a loved one, someone that you trust, that you can lean on, don't be afraid to do that. I think a lot of people are really afraid to talk about struggling, especially to their friends. Because it can be it can feel embarrassing when it shouldn't. We're all human. We've all struggled before, but just don't be afraid to take advantage of the resources that you have, whether that's friends and family or whether that's a professional. Don't be embarrassed. It's nothing embarrassing. It's the most human thing you can do, and it's going to help. Another one that is near and dear to my heart is based on last week's episode. They said, I too am addicted to social media and it's killing me. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people can relate to that would never admit it, but it's true. Like people's screen times are crazy. And yeah, I don't think social media is all that great for our brains. And I love it and I have so much fun with it, but I've had to put up some boundaries with it, with like mindlessly scrolling. And so my advice for that is take advantage of a brick. If you literally can't be stopped and you are someone who needs to have a device that you use to limit your screen time, a brick is fantastic. Like get a brick your phone. Otherwise, if you need to do a detox, unless you're making money on social media and it is your job and it's something that you really can afford to step away from, delete social media for a single week, delete it for a week, see how that does for you, see how much better you feel, and do more like grounding things. Go outside, touch grass, literally, and read a book. Once again, read a book. How many times can I tell people to read a book in an episode? I don't know, but do some other things. Literally, if you have to like lock yourself out, if you have to delete your social media, delete it. Like just, you got to give a detox and you will feel better. And it's easier said than done, but you have to get to where you look at yourself and you're like, enough is enough. Like I don't feel like myself. I can't do this anymore. And I believe in you. It's hard, but I believe in you. This one is also very real, very vulnerable. I miss a version of myself I've never been able to be. I resonate with that one in a way of like reading it and being like, wow, I've never really been able to put that into words, but I have felt like that. And so thank you so much for sending that in. I feel like that's kind of sometimes how I feel when the doubt starts to creep in of like, what if I don't achieve any of these things? But it's like, I built this version of myself in my mind that had all of them. And I've been so excited to meet that person. And then like on my darkest days when I feel really low, I'm like, I miss that. Yet I've never thought of it of like missing a person that I haven't been able to be yet. But I feel like that's kind of like a lot of us future pace through our problems of like whatever's going on in the world, we kind of create this like, once this is done, once that is done, like once I get through this, once I get through that. And then eventually we have this whole character of ourselves that we built of like the ideal me. And then you can start to miss that, you know? Like, I've never thought about that. And so it's honestly throwing me a little bit because I don't know. I'm inclined to say a way to like reframe that is to ask yourself what would need to be done in order to be that person. But at the same time, it's also like, we also have to be honest with ourselves and ask like, are we trying to make ourselves not human? Like, are we creating a version of ourselves that's literally impossible to ever achieve? And so we're setting ourselves up for like lifelong disappointment and self like hatred, you know, as intense as that is. But it's like, I think a big part of why I do my whole Hot and Interesting series, if you know, you know, is like accepting our flaws and not trying to be perfect and not trying to be like this Instagram aesthetic, you know, just bringing back the like uniqueness and individuality and letting ourselves find who we truly are. And I think a big way to get over that kind of feeling is to think about all of the beauty that has come from your flaws and all of your quirks and all of the things that at some points you probably wish you could have changed about yourself. And then imagine from somebody else's perspective, like think about your friends and think about your friends' quirks and flaws and the things that they do that are kind of wonky and whatever. And then imagine they were all erased and they were perfect, just a perfect person. And imagine how much less of a sparkle they would have in your life. And so I think that's a huge thing that helps me is to like think of myself as my friend and be like, I would never talk to my friend like that. I would never want my friend to feel like that about herself. And so if you have to do that with yourself and be like, yes, you can have standards for yourself. Yes, you can have goals for yourself. Yes, you can want to grow, but also you got to love yourself as you are now with so much intensity to where if you never reach that point, or if you aren't guaranteed tomorrow or next week that you get to reach a point where no matter what, flaws and all, you love the person that you are in this moment right now. And so do whatever you need to do to get to that point. And even if it's faking it till you make it, like I say, even if it's looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I love me, I love being me, I never want to be anybody else, and it's so not true, say it until it's true, because that stuff works. But at the end of the day, also give yourself a hug and tell yourself that this is so beyond human of me to feel. And also pat yourself on the back for being like, I want to be a good person. Like at the end of the day, I have no doubt that whatever you're talking about, a version of yourself is somebody who probably does insanely good things, has a great sense of self, has a great outlook on life. And it's like, be proud of yourself for for aspiring to be such a fantastic, incredible, amazing person. And then realize like, oh, if I have the desires to want to be someone this good, then that means that somewhere inside of me, I am this good. And then sit with that. How's that? How'd I do? Right, my friends, last but not least, we're going to end on a scandalocious note. This person says, confession, I have a crush on my friend's boyfriend. Yikes, sister. Yikes. I'm assuming sister. I don't know, sister, mister, whoever you are. Here's my advice. You probably have crushes on certain aspects of this person. And you probably also, if they're a good guy, obviously, if you have a crush on them, then they're probably a good guy. Then potentially, if you think about it, maybe you can sit with yourself and realize like you like how they treat your friend. Your friend's in a good relationship and you want to be in a relationship like that. And maybe, just maybe, trying to be optimistic here, maybe you don't actually have a crush on him, but it's more like the idea of him. And you can kind of take that as an inventory of like, he treats her so well. He does X, Y, and Z. Maybe he's successful. Maybe he's funny. Maybe he's charming. Maybe he's all these things. And you can make it into a checklist of like the things that you want for your future boyfriend, but not him. And also at the end of the day, here's something I'll say. Sisters before misters, every single day. Your friends are so important. Never in a million years, ever put a man before your friend. Okay? Okay? So whatever you need to do to knock that crush down, do it. And I just don't ruin your friendships for a man. That's all I have to say about that. Do not ruin your friendship for a man ever. You will regret it forever. You will never, ever, 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 ever be happy. You're not meant to be with somebody who's with somebody else. Like, that's not how that works. You're not meant to be with your best friend's boyfriend. And you just, there are so many, like, the thing is, whatever you like about him, there's a million other guys that have those attributes too. Like, I promise. So you can find them, take an inventory. What are the things you like about him? What are the things you think you like about him? And then realize that it's not subjective to him, and find your person, and then respect your friend, because your friend is going to be there for you a lot longer than a boyfriend would. Okay? That's my tough love. But I'm always going to stand with the girls, okay? That's one thing about me. Okay, my beautiful friends, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Late Night Confessions. I feel so much better every time I get into this confession room and I tell you guys all my little secrets and my little things that I don't want to admit about myself, but it's good to do. So thank you for holding space for me and listening, and thank you for sending in your submissions. And if you would like to be featured on next week's episode, do not forget, email thesensationalistpodcast@gmail.com or message me on any of my socials at Britton Rae. I love you guys so much. I am so thrilled to be doing this, and it feels so good. And so thank you so much. I will see you guys next week. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been rather sensational. Bye.